First up, Simisola Okai sat down with Pastor Joseph Persaud, the man behind the Hope is Rising movement. His country, Guyana, had the highest suicide rate in the world. Yet a simple act of obedience on his part changed it all. Take a look.
Well, Pastor Joe Persaud, it's great to have you on Turning Point.
Thank you for having me, Simi.
Yes. Now, you have an amazing background. You've traveled to over 25 nations. You pastor a church in New York, over 30 years with your dad.
Yes.
But I think what I like about you is that you believe in not just the church,
Right.
but in economic development for many countries. So
Correct.
tell us about that, sustainable development for third world countries.
Yeah, well, we are interested in changing nations and changing people's lives. And not only changing them for a hand out, but a hand up, and giving them an opportunity to get out of poverty. So creative ideas such as giving them small loans called microfinance to create small jobs for themselves, so that you are not giving them a fish, but you're teaching them how to fish. And so we've done projects of creating small vendor jobs and folks who have never had an opportunity to make a daily living. We've been able to help do that. We've done creative things like buying a cow in India so that the milk could be sold in the market and bring that family out of poverty. It may seem very simplistic, but in some parts of the world, these things really do change an entire family.
Now you're working on these projects, and then I know you're from Guyana.
Yes.
And so God began to speak to you about Guyana and helping the people of Guyana. I know most people know about Guyana from Jim Jones and the mass suicide that took place. And recently, it was reported that Guyana had the #1 suicide rate in the whole world. And God began to speak to you about what to do. So tell us what happened.
Yeah, I had gone all over the world. You said I've gone to over 25 countries, and from Haiti to Nigeria to India. And then I had not gone back to my own country in over a decade. And when God started speaking to me last year about going back to Guyana, I heard loud and clear, Pastor Joe, don't go and preach at 2 services and leave the country. There are other folks who are doing that already. They're going to do it much better than you. You're going to have to do something that's going to really help a nation as a whole. That's where we started doing some public relations late last year. And this year, for the first time, I went back into the country. And I visited back 4 times. And we've done 3 major events to bring awareness. The first event, we had 7,000 folks. The second one, we had 4. And then the last one with Travis Green, where we really believe something really broke in the atmosphere. Something really came that's changing their country. We had close to 20,000 people. So it's something that has swept that country. And I am saying today that, we did this thing and we call it Hope is Rising, that since Hope is Rising has gone into Guyana, we could report, if the numbers are reported right, that Guyana is now not the #1 suicide-rated country in the world. It's not even the #10. We believe there's been a steep, drastic decline through the power of God.
That's a powerful shift. I know we call it the Guyana Miracle.
Yes.
That God could use a nation of that size. He could change the destiny of a nation and even the issues that they're facing, the suicide. And for other people watching, maybe in their nations, they're going through, whether it's poverty, it's suicide, it's just an insurmountable issue. You're saying that with the power of God, when churches come together and pray, that God can shift a nation. So encourage someone watching who's like, I really hope that God can do this for my own nation. We're facing so many things.
Yeah,
what would you say?
we have gotten calls from at least 7 nations saying, we're seeing what is happening with Guyana. Can you bring Hope is Rising to my country? There are countries that suicide is hitting those countries, violence, especially the third world countries. And the church has not had a whole of a real concerted effort Let us join together to make it. And so Hope is Rising, this is what we did in Guyana, and here's what we're seeing: drastic reductions in suicide.
And my final question, speaking of hope,
yeah,
you know, there are people watching who are like, wow, God can shift the whole nation.
Yes.
God can turn a nation that was, you know, the highest suicide rate
Yes.
down. And they're thinking, you know, I don't have hope. In my personal situation, I feel hopeless. Maybe they're suicidal.
Yeah.
What would you tell that person?
I would say to that person who is watching us, wherever you are today, that Christ will make the difference in your life, and that a spirit of hopelessness is a spirit that could be erased out of your life if you just look and see the light beyond the darkness. For if you just, the spirit of suicide is a spirit, it is a spirit, that if you survive that, you will go on to do some great and mighty things. Some of the greatest men and women of God survived the darkest periods in their life and went on to do some great exploits for God. So there might be someone who God has something great to do through them, but the devil has stopped them and put them into a dark place. We all have been in that place. I would say, just survive it, move beyond it, let hope come into your life, because something great is about to happen on your life. And that person who's watching me from anywhere in this world, something great is about to happen. The devil does not want you to do it. Just look beyond where you are and let God do something great in your life.